Divine appointment. We heard the call, we answered the call. And for those who are tuning in, this is the appropriate moment to open, to acknowledge, and to come together in peace, harmony, balance, aliveness, and energy. And this month, the theme is the path to higher consciousness. We're all on our path. And by virtue of the fact that we are in the world to have our experiences. And when we are in the world to express our energy and who we are and our uniqueness and our beauty and sometimes our not so beautiful selves, that there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are that is always supporting us. No matter what mood we're in, no matter what side of the bed we got up on, that there is a power for good in the universe that is always supporting us. And that as we open to our own self-love, we are created in the image and likeness of God. We are told that it is good, and what is it? Very good. So when we get it, that it is good and very good, and we begin to stand a little taller and step into our true spiritual stature and embrace this call, because we are here by divine appointment. We chose to be here at this time. And when we open to that, and this was like news to me when I came into this way of life at 21 years old, that we choose our parents. I said, oh my God, I would never have chosen these parents. Are you kidding? No. Then I read something about, and it's an ancient archetypal story about when the mother stork flew over the world. She had a whole basket of zygotes, and every once in a while she went into turbulence and a zygote fell off. And not the right family, and some other family. So I always thought I was the mistaken zygote in my family. And my granny, my Tobacco, Oklahoma chewing granny, used to look at me at 9 years old, and she'd look into my eyes and she'd say, you're not like anyone in this family. That only confirmed my theory that, I was the mistaken zygote. But we come in with a specific destiny, and it's not about fitting in. And most of us in metaphysics, we have never fit in. And that as we grow and unfold and evolve and become all that we can be, we learn that we have the awareness. This is a toughie. Someone came to me and he said, I'm going through this thing with this, I really love my mother, and the person that she's with is, very difficult, and I recognize that this is, also part of her karma and her choice. And I thought that he would be better. And, he went into this whole experience that he was having, which was not fun. And so I said, it's so interesting that when we have the awareness, we get to make the adjustment. Life is not fair. Get it? Life is not fair. Everything is by right of consciousness. So when we think this isn't fair, guess what? It isn't. Everything is by right of consciousness. When we step into that consciousness of unconditional love and draw the larger circle and include these things, they return to their native nothingness from whence they came, because we are not giving them the life and the energy. We're taking the energy charge out of it. So today we're looking at the law and the presence. And the laws of the universe are very specific. First cause is very specific. And everyone says, well, all of this law of attraction that's going on. And as I've shared several times, in the Science of Mind textbook that was written in 1926, Dr. Ernest Holmes has a chapter called The Law of Attraction, where we have a corresponding thoughts that come into our life. But he was very, very clear. He said, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme, and it's not something for nothing. It's about a right of consciousness. Be still and know that I am God. That energy is flowing through us, and that we are vitally connected to it. And it's interesting. We all have the knee-jerk reactions, and then we get to go back and clean it up later. That's all part of being human. But as our humanness gives way to the divine, there is a higher energy that takes over. And this week I was leaving the house, and I have an automatic gate, and I have a little clicker, the remote. And so I realized that I wasn't I forgot something, so I was pulling up, and I was pressing the garage door to go up, but it was really the remote to the gate. So the gate began to close on my car, and I thought, I'll just accelerate and just go right on around it, right? And the gate caught on my bumper, and so instead of stopping and letting the sensor do its job and it would go back, I kept going and heard like a little kind of sound. And, I got out, and amazingly enough, just 2 scratches on my car, but the fence, obviously, it was off the track. So I called Julian, and I said, the fence is off its track, and so if you could just go put it back on. And then he texted me, and he said, in construction language, lady, you bent the hell out of that fence. I'm going to have Eddie, who's a great big guy, and we're going to try to bend it all back into shape. And I said, this is such an object lesson, because had I not done anything and just sat there, it would have hit it and gone back. So there are times that we just, shoot from the hip, we clean it up later. It's all part of the process, and thank goodness we have people there to support us in that process. Even though, we bend a few fences, right? Energetically, it's about being in the world and having these experiences. Be still and know that there is a power in the universe greater than you are, and you are using it every single moment, very creatively at times. And I love in this little book that I was given, and it's called 1001 Instant Karma. And it's a very cute book. And one of them is that in the face of conflict, open to creativity. In the face of conflict, open to creativity. Because when we're looking at the law and the presence, we know the law is a mechanical force. It just does what it does. We can accelerate thinking we're going to get around it, but it catches us at times and bends the hell out of the fence, or whatever it is that our experience is. So when we open to conflict and realize that there are so many contrasts, and we can look at the contrasts in our lives, and we can acknowledge that when we're in the world full out, 100%, there are going to be experiences. Are we going to learn and grow and evolve? Or are we going to resist? And that which we resist, we know the old adage, persists. So as we surrender and let go and let God do what God does best, energetically, we create a space to allow the law of karma to work. And all that means is the law of cause and effect. Karma is cause and effect. So love points the way. The energy, the warmth, the embrace of life, love points the way, and law makes the way possible. Because it is a mechanical force. That which goes within also comes without. As above, so below. As within, so without. All at the center. And I love the ancient indigenous people because they have a power circle. They said, I have a power circle. And as they stand in that power circle, they said, when conflict and the winds arise, we stand firm in our power circle. We do not look to the left or the right. We do not bleed energy. We stand firm in our power circle. So this is the presence, that when we are feeling that energy of presence, we know that we are thoroughly in the world. We have all of our experiences that show up in our lives. And I absolutely love when I'm out there and I hear speakers and they disclose their life journeys and how they got from A to Z and all the things in between. That is such a gift to all of us because we think, wow, they went through that. Somebody put on Facebook that at 57, Louise Hay was bouncing checks. Somebody else, Wayne Dyer discovered, he was an alcoholic at this certain age, and somebody else discovered that at another age. And at the bottom of it said, there's still hope for us. There's hope for us. In other words, everyone has their journey. And I can remember when Louise was telling me about publishing the Cause and Mind book. And she said she maxed out her credit card. She was, self-publishing. And when her teacher said, how many did you have published? She said, 5,000, and he laughed hysterically. And I know her teacher. He laughed hysterically. He said, well, let's hope you sell 500 at least. And she had 5,000, and that thing sold out. She sent to all of us ministers as a gift, and then republished and republished. And I can remember at her beautiful Solana Beach house overlooking the ocean, and it was such a beautiful house. She said, Sharron, this book, You Can Heal Your Life, bought this house. So when we heal our lives, abundance comes also. We can be spiritual and abundant. What a concept. You can be spiritual and abundant. You can be in the world, not of it, but realize that it's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And what Jesus meant by that was open yourself. Open yourself to the kingdom and allow that energy to flow through. It's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Are we accepting that kingdom? And when we are falling good, and when we are falling short, guess what? We go within to that secret place. We feel that power and that presence. Sometimes we just have to let it all go so that we can feel that power, that presence, that energy. That we have eyes that see and we have ears that hear. And the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart are accepted and received. To really know that, to send that out with conviction and the realization that yes, there is a power for good in the universe. I'm using it every single day of my life. How I use it is my choice. We cannot look outside, and you know there are a lot of things that happen to us in our lives. But the day comes when we begin to cease weeping and begin to acknowledge that it happened for our unfoldment and our growth. And that takes some doing. That there is an unfoldment in life. That there is an energy that supports us unconditionally. Even when we're not aware of it at any given moment, it is always there for us. So as we come together this morning to acknowledge that the power, the peace, the presence is right where we are. We look outside, we think we're going to fill the hole in the soul, but it's always been within us. That you can low here, Jesus said, and you can low there, but the kingdom of God is within you. And when we really realize that kingdom is within us, everything just absolutely melts away. Do we have residue that comes up? Yes. Do we have challenges that come up? Yes. And when these things come up, then we have the opportunity to confront them in a whole different way. To embrace tiger, as it were. There's an ancient Zen story about the emperor was taking a group out for archery. And they were all practicing. And coming through the forest was one of the abbots and monks. And as they were coming through the forest, an arrow flew through the sky, and it went down and landed in the abbot's chest. And as they began to attend to the abbot and pull the arrow out, he said, "No, do not pull this arrow out. Go and find who did this so he may be punished." And they said, "But you'll die if we don't find the culprit who did this." And so they were scurrying around looking, and they couldn't find who did it. It was an absolute, it was one of those interesting accidents of the universe. But it's interesting what we magnetize to ourselves, isn't it? Sometimes when we're holding on to stuff, it feels like an arrow right in the heart. Are we going to pull it out, or are we going to say, "I want to know who did it. Go see, I want revenge"? That's the ego part of us. And no one hears this. We've never done that, have we? Right. Remember, the ancient Chinese never cursed anyone. They only wished them an interesting life. May you have an interesting life. So, of course, the abbot died because he was so holding on to that energy. And as we hold on to negative energy, it will poison us. Remember the old adage, if I'm mad at you and I take poison expecting you to die, well, guess what? That's not going to happen. So we begin to acknowledge this power, this presence, this energy in the universe, that as we tap in to the grace and realize that we're all here through grace, aren't we? Every one of us. So love points the way, law makes the way possible, that we are learning, we are growing, and we are unfolding. That when we hang on to negativity, it does poison us. And so we learn to forgive. And I love what Martin said about the power of forgiveness in his I Am Spirit series, that forgiveness is really the first step for everything, for love, for abundance, for the energy of health. True health is that radiance and the aliveness that we wouldn't necessarily repeat the experience. And I can tell you that my father was the most abusive alcoholic. And when we get it, that people in our lives have not served us, right? And have been abusive, that I held on to that for years, and I thought, someday he's going to come to me and he's going to apologize, and I'm just going to tell him what for. And so he did come to me, and he was crying, and he was carrying on, and he said, you've done so much, and you came so far. And I was in my 30s. I was like 38. I had my own television show. I had 3,000 people in my congregation in San Diego. And he was just like, he was so contrite and sobbing. And he said, but am I to be crucified the rest of my life for this? And I said, no, Daddy. And I just had this wave of compassion. I said, I wouldn't be who I am today without these experiences, nor would I ever repeat them. Karma is complete. I got it, right?
Yes.
I got it. So when the wave of compassion comes in, the presence of God comes in, we draw that larger circle. We acknowledge that there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, that we are using it. And how wonderful to be in this way of life, that every single day is what? It's a brand new, fresh piece of paper. Draw on it what you will. Here's the paints, here's the brushes. You paint paradise, and in you go. You paint a life, and in you go. And those little moments when we think we're going to accelerate, we're going to miss the fence, and we don't, those are little lessons along the way that say, be still and know that I am God. That all we have to do is be still and know that we have to breathe, let go, and let God do what God does best, because we know where we're going. And where is that? Higher yet. Where is it? Higher yet. Where is it? Higher yet. And so it is. And God bless you.